Have you ever wondered what role the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, or EFCC, plays in Nigeria? Let's dive right in. The EFCC, established in 2003, holds a mandate to prevent, investigate, prosecute, and penalize economic and financial crimes. It's a body vested with the responsibility to maintain law and order when it comes to the financial sector, ensuring crimes like money laundering, tax evasion, and internet fraud are kept at bay. Now, when you think of the EFCC, it's comparable to the FBI in the United States or the NCA in Britain. These are all highly respected law enforcement agencies that target the major players in crime within their respective countries, or, as we like to call them, the big whales. In the case of the EFCC, their big whales should be those individuals, corporations, or government officials who engage in substantial financial crimes, siphoning billions of naira out of the country, leaving the nation's infrastructure in a state of disrepair. It's these financial leviathans that lead to a lack of electricity, poor hospital facilities, and an education system that struggles to serve its purpose. But here's the crux of the matter. Is the EFCC truly fulfilling its mandate? Are they casting their nets wide and deep enough to catch these big whales of financial crime? Well, that's a complex question. While the EFCC has had some successes, there's an increasing perception that their focus is misdirected. There are concerns that they spend more time chasing after the small fish, the social media influencers, and young entrepreneurs, rather than tackling the pervasive corruption at the higher echelons of society. The EFCC stands as a beacon of hope in the fight against corruption, a force to reclaim the stolen wealth of the nation. But to fulfill this role, it must refocus its energies on the true culprits of Nigeria's economic woes. But is the EFCC living up to these expectations? Let's delve into some case studies. Consider the case of the EFCC's focus on social media influencers. This trend sees the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, akin to America's FBI and Britain's NCA, diverting their resources to target young media personalities. These influencers, who often have no links to large-scale financial malfeasance, find themselves in the crosshairs of an agency that was designed to tackle the big whales of crime. Take a moment to ponder this. The EFCC, a body meant to safeguard Nigeria's economic landscape from financial predators, is expending its energies on the proverbial minnows of the social media world. These are not the masterminds behind the massive financial frauds that drain the country's wealth, nor are they involved in the illicit mineral trade that robs Nigeria of its natural resources. Yet they are pursued with a vigor that is sadly lacking when it comes to apprehending the real culprits, the high-profile financial criminals who siphon off millions of dollars from the public coffers, leaving the country bereft of basic amenities such as electricity, hospitals, and quality education. Why, one might ask, are the social media influencers the ones being targeted? Could it be a diversionary tactic, an attempt to appear proactive while ignoring the glaring issues of political corruption and systemic financial fraud? It's a question that begs an answer. The EFCC's pursuit of these young influencers paints a worrying picture. It suggests a skewed prioritization, a shift away from their original mandate of tackling grand-scale financial crimes and towards a softer, less consequential target. It is a strategy that not only undermines the agency's credibility, but also leaves the true perpetrators of economic crimes untouched. While these cases may seem minor, they reveal a concerning trend, but this isn't the only issue. Now let's turn our attention to political corruption. It's a phrase that rings with a certain heaviness, doesn't it? That's because in Nigeria, it is a reality that the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, or EFCC, has often turned a blind eye to. One would expect that an agency equivalent to the FBI of America or the NCA of Britain would prioritize going after the big whales of crime. However, the EFCC seems to have a different agenda. The focus often appears to be far removed from the high-ranking officials who are allegedly involved in large-scale corruption. Let's consider an example. Nigeria is a country rich in mineral resources, yet the wealth generated from these resources rarely seems to benefit the average Nigerian citizen. Instead, it seems to mysteriously disappear, leaving the nation grappling with poor infrastructure, lack of electricity, inadequate healthcare, and a struggling education system. There have been allegations that these resources are being illegally sold on the black market by corrupt officials. These are not petty thieves, but individuals in positions of power who are entrusted with the responsibility of serving the nation. Yet despite these serious accusations, the EFCC appears to take little action. Similarly, there are claims that millions of dollars are being siphoned out of Nigeria or laundered out by government officials. This is not just a betrayal of the people's trust, but a crime that directly contributes to the impoverishment of the nation. Yet again, where is the EFCC? Shouldn't this agency designed to combat economic and financial crimes be at the forefront of investigating and prosecuting these cases? These are not isolated incidents, but rather, they paint a picture of a systemic issue. It begs the question, why is the EFCC not focusing its resources on these high-profile cases? Why is the agency, which should be guarding the economic health of the nation, seemingly ignoring the corrupt practices of those in power? These are serious allegations of corruption that, if true, suggest a significant failure on the part of the EFCC. It's time for the EFCC to reclaim its respect and authority by tackling the big whales of crime head-on. Another major issue in Nigeria is the spate of kidnappings. It's a grim reality that has been on the rise, with mothers and children, often the most vulnerable, being the main targets. Hundreds have been taken, their families left in distress, communities in fear, and the nation in an uproar. These kidnappings are not random acts of violence. They've become a lucrative business, with ransom money often reaching into the millions. Alarmingly, allegations suggest that these ransom payments are sometimes facilitated by politicians, the very individuals entrusted with safeguarding the welfare of the Nigerian people. This brings us to the role of the EFCC, Nigeria's equivalent to the FBI or the NCA. With their mandate to investigate economic and financial crimes, one might assume that the commission would be at the forefront of tackling this issue. After all, these kidnappings and the subsequent ransom payments are part of a vast criminal enterprise that drains the nation's resources. However, the EFCC seems to be conspicuously absent in these situations. Despite the widespread nature of the problem and the alleged involvement of political figures, there appears to be little to no action taken by the EFCC to investigate, much less apprehend, those responsible. Instead, the EFCC seems more focused on arresting social media influencers, the so-called little crawfish of Nigeria. While these individuals may be involved in some forms of crime, they hardly compare to the big whales of kidnapping rings and corrupt politicians. This lack of action from the EFCC raises serious questions about the Commission's priorities and effectiveness. It paints a picture of a law enforcement agency that is more concerned with maintaining an appearance of action rather than tackling the substantial issues that plague the nation. These cases of kidnappings, compounded by the allegations of political involvement, raise further questions about the EFCC's effectiveness. Is the EFCC truly serving the Nigerian people, or is it merely a tool for political theater? As we move forward, it is essential that the EFCC reassess its priorities and take meaningful action against the real threats facing Nigeria. After reviewing these case studies, it is clear that there are significant concerns about the EFCC's role in Nigeria. Let's take a moment to digest the issues we've explored and consider the way forward. Firstly, we have the EFCC's focus on social media influencers, often perceived as the little crawfish of economic crime. While it's crucial to uphold law and order across all strata of society, the question remains, is the EFCC prioritizing its resources effectively? Then, we delve into the issue of political corruption and economic crime. Millions of dollars are allegedly siphoned out of Nigeria, contributing to a lack of infrastructure, healthcare, and quality education. Yet it appears that the big whales of these crimes often go untouched. The issue of kidnapping is equally distressing. Hundreds of innocent lives are lost and ransoms are paid, yet the EFCC seems to be on the sidelines. To address these concerns, the EFCC needs a strategic shift in focus. It's time to redirect resources towards tackling high-level corruption and economic crimes that cripple the nation's development. This includes creating a robust system for investigating and prosecuting those involved in stealing Nigeria's wealth and mineral resources. Furthermore, the EFCC could benefit from strengthening its investigative capabilities in kidnapping cases, working in collaboration with other law enforcement agencies to ensure justice is served. Transparency is another critical factor. The EFCC should consider implementing measures that promote openness and accountability. This could include publishing regular reports on their activities and findings, allowing the Nigerian people to scrutinize their operations and hold them accountable. Finally, the EFCC must work towards regaining the trust and respect of the Nigerian people. This can be achieved by demonstrating a commitment to fairness, justice, and the rule of law, irrespective of an individual's social or political standing. It's time for the EFCC to regain its respect and truly serve the Nigerian people. The question is, are they ready to take on this challenge? As we wrap up this deep dive into the EFCC's role in Nigeria, it's important to remember that change doesn't happen overnight. It requires time, dedication, and the collective effort of the entire nation. We, as citizens, have a role to play by staying informed, holding our institutions accountable, and promoting a culture of integrity and fairness. Now it's your turn. What are your thoughts on the EFCC's role in Nigeria? Are there other areas you believe the EFCC should focus its resources on? Do you have any suggestions on how the EFCC can improve its operations? We would love to hear your thoughts and ideas. Remember, every voice matters in the fight against corruption and crime. It's through our collective efforts that we can build a Nigeria that we are all proud of. If you found this video insightful, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your engagement helps us to continue producing content like this. Leave your reasonable comments in the comments area below. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video and engage in this important discussion. Together, we can make a difference. Stay informed, stay engaged, and always strive for a better Nigeria.